And by the way, it's not new. Like I said, 30 years already science trying to do something with the vagus nerve. And 30 years ago,
Yeah.
started the first operation. They implanted the
Wow.
implants to treat epilepsy, for example. This implants was stimulating the vagus nerve, and they treated epilepsy. But then they suddenly found that it's not only for epilepsy, but it's also for depression. And then after 20 years, now we know that it's also good for the gut health. It's also good for the immune system, for the heart rate, and etc.
Yeah. So that's actually the next topic we have for today is
Yeah,
exactly what they found there.
yeah,
Because in our pre-meeting, when we wrote some stuff to each other, we saw there that actually you were giving me the idea that in 1988 there was some things which are happening there. So I guess you started talking about it, but tell us more about this and what they found.
yeah. So they started to treat epilepsy. They implanted the device. It's like it's a surgery. I mean, it's an invasion. Yeah. So they implanted the device, which creating the neurosignals, the same specific neurosignals, and treating epilepsy. But then they found that it's not only for epilepsy. It also can be useful for the mental health issues like a depression. And then started to be big boom of studies. What else this vagus nerve stimulation can do, and vagus nerve is the part of this neuromodulation. It's a big health science related to electronics and etc. For example, deep brain stimulation. It's the same. There's some kind of device that are inserted in your brain. They are treating Parkinson with this. Or let's say spinal cord stimulation, the same small devices which creating some specific neuro signals. They are treating big serious spinal let's say issues and etc. So I mean, vagus nerve stimulators is the part of this big group of neuro modulation devices and etc. Still, it's not so super popular. Still, we don't have such a big amount of companies or let's say devices, but it's working. So 10 years ago, scientists, because now, for example, if you will insert in PubMed or sign directly the vagus nerve stimulator, you can find about 20,000 studies related. So 10 years ago, scientists discovered that basically you don't need to make a surgery. That non-invasive stimulation, which means stimulation on the surface of your skin, practically makes the same effect. Practically. Wow. There are some differences, let's say, but those differences are so small that, I mean, it's not making the game-changing stuff, So basically now, this is the future of medicine, that you don't need to make a surgery, you don't need to make some invasion and etc. You can do it on the skin level, just creating specific, let's say, electronic algorithms based on voltage, based on amplitude, based on frequency of the signal, electric, and etc. So yeah.
Wow. So tell me a little bit more. What do you think? Because now we talk about serious illnesses like epilepsy and Parkinson. I mean, can you elaborate a little bit on that? What's your opinion? If you haven't received information with these people, but what makes this so powerful to treat this kind of illnesses?
Yeah, because in our body, when we have in this balance, our first of all, our neuron connections are breaking down. So that's why these nerve stimulators, in general, they have quite a big logical, let's say, explanation why they're working. And by the way, how I came to this topic, I didn't came from the sleep angle. I came because my wife, she has clustery head pains. And I don't know if you know these clustery head pains, but it's like a 10 times bigger pain comparing with migraine. They are coming like a few times per year. Usually, in this phase of pain, it takes like 1-2 weeks. But usually, the person is waking up in the middle of the night, and the pain is such a big that you cannot sleep. I mean, you cannot do nothing. You cannot even walk, and etc. And believe me, we tested a lot of things. There are no treatment at this moment. I mean, super good treatment. We tested oxygen. We tested. I even read about LSD microdosing because there are some studies for this. But still, science don't know explanation. They have some ideas that this is related, like migraine, with let's say blood vessels. The blood vessels are narrowed down, so that's why this happens. And then I came to study that vagus nerve stimulators, they are treating or they are decreasing the amount of cluster head pains. And by the way,
wow.
Even in Lithuania, there is one company, FDA approved company. It means they have medical device status. They are treating migraine and cluster head pain with a vagus nerve stimulator. So this is how I came to this topic, just personal, let's say, motivation, to try to help and to find some alternative solutions for my wife. And I'm really big believer that I will create the stuff which will help to my family personally, because I know those few weeks per year, I mean she's struggling with this, so yeah. So I mean, it's not only about sleep, anxiety, it's also about pain regulation, so which is for me is very, very important in the case of this vagus nerve.
So let me just tell you what I'm understanding, and because it's very important here for people, for me to understand, but also for people, I guess, who listen to that. So it seems to me that when the again, I talk about the two systems, like sympathetic, parasympathetic. When sympathetic system takes over, it creates all of these side effects like too much stress, chronic stress, or anxiety, even some psychosomatic things like migraine and other pains in the body. So my logical explanation of what you talk about is by stimulating this nerve, we help the parasympathetic system to start working more, which creates this more balance in the body. So that's why these things start to disappear. Is that what's the kind of explanation? Maybe it's not exactly the right, but just to make sure that people can see what exactly is happening here.
And you are practically completely right. Just the question, why this parasympathetic system, why sympathetic system is stronger than parasympathetic? And there could be a lot of reasons. For example, it could be the reason that in general, your vagus nerve tone is weak. And we don't know why, but it's weak, because, you maybe, and this is the reason why you have, let's say, not so strong parasympathetic nervous system. Or maybe you have too much stress in your life, and that's why sympathetic is dominating over the parasympathetic. So the reasons could be different, but still the main thing, that you can do some specific things, some specific actions in order to strengthen your vagus nerve and then activate, let's say, and make stronger the parasympathetic nervous system, which can bring a lot of benefits.